During the winter time, the crater would fill up with snow, and this is just early winter. It would just totally pack itself in with snow. You had 6 major eruptions during the year of 1980. Now you're looking at Spirit Lake. This is after the first eruption. Represented here is, again, about 600 feet of debris that has been dumped on top. One of the steam explosion pits, which I will show you in a minute, was eroded into. And I want to show you something now. This is the first major geologic oddity that wasn't so odd now. You're looking at the little person standing down here, and you see 3 distinct layers, don't you? This layer here was laid down May 18, 1980. This layer here was laid down on June 12, 1980. And this layer up here was laid down March 19, 1982. This layer in here is about 25 feet in thickness, and it was the explosion of June 12 that took about 5 hours to explode. So let's go and take a little closer look at that layer. Now, what do you see? You see strata. Okay? Now, let me tell you, a hallmark of evolution is strata. They have always maintained that it takes millions and millions of years. I could say billions, but that was Carl Sagan. So it takes millions of years to build up strata. Okay? Now, let's get a little bit closer. What do you see now? You see different thicknesses of strata all the way down to 1 millimeter, from 3 feet thick to 1 millimeter. This is incredible. What we said as creationists and creation scientists is that during the flood, you could lay down layer after layer after layer very, very quickly. And what we have here, the physics between a water-charged slurry and a gas-charged slurry is the same at high speed. But you would expect that everything would be homogeneous and all mixed up in all of that, wouldn't you? That's what the evolutionists said. Oh, it'd be homogeneous. You wouldn't see layers like this. That's preposterous. But now we see layers. What actually happened is in winds stronger than a hurricane, that it was able to sort itself out by size, density, and shape. And you see all the same. You see little tiny laminations. And that's the key word. Little tiny laminations here. They said to get laminations, the evolutionist says that it occurred over millions of years in a calm ocean. Calm ocean. It would be there. It would lay down a little bit of strata because, you know, the fishes do their things and everything kind of does its thing. It lays down a little bit of strata. Then the ocean dries up and goes away. Doesn't disturb anything. And for maybe another million years, it comes back again. What happened during the million years that it was gone? Nothing grew on it. No roots came down. Nothing disturbed it. There was no wind. No one walked on it. No animal said, hey, nice property. Nothing happened. And it came back and it laid down another thin layer. But we know now that in less than 5 hours, you can lay down strata, you can lay down laminations, which they've never believed before. This is the Tapete sandstones in the Grand Canyon. Look at this, look at the strata. Does it look very familiar? They have now rewritten the textbooks about the Grand Canyon. I have a book out there, and I should say the book sale will be Saturday night, probably around 5:45 or so. And they have a book out there. It's called Grand Canyon, A Different View. And they're selling it in the government little, sale place when you go up there in the Grand Canyon. And the evolutionists are just, man. But there it is. And the government said, freedom of speech. These guys have it right, I think. And the geologists are now stating that, well, maybe the Grand Canyon wasn't made the way we thought it was. Maybe a water-charged slurry someplace to the northeast broke and came through and created the Grand Canyon. And this Tapete sandstone, excuse me, it is not just isolated right there. They don't tell you that all of this layering is almost throughout all of North America. Now, how do you lay down something like this throughout all of North America? And of course, parts of it erode away and stuff like that, but we can see it. You can do this by satellite and penetrate by radar, and you can look down into the layers, and you can see this whole layer going across North America. What would do that? Nothing short of a cataclysmic flood. That explains it. It doesn't explain it any other way. The steam explosion pits. You saw those big chunks of ice flying off? They would land, crash, and then you'd have 300 to 600 feet of ash, dirt, debris, all dumped on top of it. What's going to happen? All that pressure and all that heat gets that water just boiling beyond, way beyond 212. Remember that the temperature was 1800 degrees Fahrenheit when it exploded out of Mount St. Helens. Well, you got all this pressure, and eventually, within a day or so, you started hearing these screaming little demons out there as the water had moved itself up and formed and blew out its steam, and you had all these steam explosions. This is a little bit overdone, isn't it? Let's go to this one. Steam explosion pits. Now, this is one of them. It's actually, it's about 1,000 feet wide and about 1,000 feet wide with 2,300 feet long. So 1,000 by 2,300. And from the bottom to the top is a little over 100 feet. Now, if you look at this, look at the gullies and the rills. I mean, doesn't it look like erosion? If you came across this with yesterday's geology book, you'd say that this took millions of years with water cascading down somehow and must have gone down the drain and disappeared. But guess what? This steam explosion pit was made in 5 days. And I've got something that's very important. Now, you're going to have this over anybody that comes tomorrow and didn't see this. And I'll remind you. What made the steam explosion pit? When I first saw this, and I was, turning the pages, and you're reading this thing, you go into this, and you go, oh, yeah, well, hey, the steam just, just did this little thing, and just carved all that stuff out of it. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. This floor right here was up to here. And as the steam came out, the floor was consumed and dropped. And it was the whole floor, as it dropped down, that carved out all the gullies and rills. It wasn't water. And that just socks the evolutionary geologists, because they thought only water could do that. And do it like this. It's rewritten the geology textbooks.